So, what went wrong for Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid? Today, we're going to be breaking down tactically the approach across both halves, essentially, and what I actually think went wrong for the team. Before we actually get into that, I want you to write in the comments down below your points for this as well. What went wrong? Full stop, essentially, for the team. And before I actually get into the tactical breakdown, please give us a thumbs up, a like on this video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. So let's get into the video, guys. Yeah. So here we have the team. We have Courtois, of course, Lucas Vázquez, Tchouaméni, Raúl Asensio, Fran Garcia, Valverde, Ceballos, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Vini, and Mbappé. Of course, as you look at it here, the team itself looked like they played a 4-2-3-1, essentially with Bellingham trying to overlap Mbappé on several occasions throughout the match and being essentially like a shadow striker. And Rodrigo, obviously Vini on the left and right, and obviously Lucas Vázquez, Fran Garcia trying to overlap. Now, for me, when I looked at it full on across the match, this is what went wrong. The first half essentially was a completely different approach to the second half. So, when Lucas Vázquez and Fran Garcia was doing a bit better job at it, essentially in the first half. But Lucas Vázquez seemed to occupy positions around this area here. And if you look at it across the highlights, if you look at the highlights itself and you rewatch the match, you will see it. Vázquez tried to invert a lot, go in between, obviously, Rodrigo and Bellingham, and try to act in this really advanced winger role, which was just not suiting him at all. In the second half, he was literally on the wings, creating opportunities just because of his tendency to overlap a lot. And I'm not just blaming Lucas Vázquez. He actually had a decent game overall. If you look at it across the 90 minutes, he was decent. The first half, shambolic. Second half, very, very good. So when Lucas Vázquez actually has a tendency to do that, you see Valverde dropping here into the back line as well. And when Fran Garcia also is trying to overlap Vini, then Ceballos has a difficulty to man-mark this whole area. So you saw Asensio, what he was doing against Alvarez a few times in the match was trying to track his runs and end up in this area here, exposing, of course, the midfield. So Ceballos maybe had to drop a little bit deeper. But for me personally, I don't want to see Lucas Vázquez here. I want to see him here. And then if Valverde wants to cover Vázquez, then he can in that right back area. But let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. Across the first half, I'm telling you what happened. If you looked deep into the match, deep into it, you saw Vini here, Fran Garcia here, Ceballos here, and Asensio here. What is wrong with that picture? What is wrong with it? Yeah, and obviously Vázquez here on several occasions. What is wrong with that? Essentially, there's no actual attack happening down the left-hand side. There's nothing happening down the left-hand side. It's non-existent. Fran Garcia was literally by himself on several occasions. Yes, Vini was there, but most of the time, you saw him getting into Mbappe's way. And that was a major problem. Yes, second half he improved and he actually played more on the left wing and he just stuck to his position. Sometimes when it comes to positioning and the way the team actually has freedom of movement is down to Ancelotti. When Vini likes to just try and occupy Mbappe's space, it just becomes a huge mix-up. He needs to stay on the left, people. He needs to stay in this area because then it just becomes super, super complicated. So with Ceballos, you saw in the second half, the difference was Valverde and Ceballos was literally just sitting here, Asensio here, and yeah, if Valverde needed to cover Lucas Vázquez, then he would do. But majority of the time when we had high intensity, this is how the actual team looked. You saw Vini here, Fran Garcia here, yeah, consistently overlapping. And this is why we pressed them essentially well in the second half, because the whole team was on the front end. They were literally creating havoc. And the defensive duties, I mean, Lucas Vázquez cut out, intercepting a lot of balls, essentially, when Atletico Madrid were trying to come out of the defensive area. And you saw Rodrigo here creating opportunities. When he made his goal, when he made the goal essentially happen, he cut here, and then obviously Bellingham was right here in the box also, like I said, deemed the shadow striker role, creating opportunities for himself, and Mbappé was just in behind to tuck in that goal. Simple as. No messing around, yeah? When we overload the final third of the pitch, Real Madrid are a very dangerous team because Lucas Vázquez is naturally a winger. He is naturally a winger. And if he can produce the opportunities that he did, essentially creating opportunities ongoing with Rodrigo, then we have a great team here, essentially. Because Valverde, yes, can cover that area here. And yes, Dani Ceballos can cover that area here if needed to. Because Fran Garcia and Lucas Vázquez have a huge tendency to overlap. But Fran Garcia is one of those players that does track back a lot. And he does create opportunity. He has the ability, because of his pace, to track back very quickly and then just recover and just make recovery runs. Exactly that. So, but Lucas Vázquez doesn't. You saw a lot of times that even when Ceballos was literally, holding the whole area of the midfield while Valverde was here, Fran Garcia was about this position here and then obviously made his recovery runs here. So if you look at that, then obviously Vázquez, yeah, he's a bit lazy in tracking back and making the ground up that he lost in the first place. So that was obviously the issue going into the match. And the first half was shambolic. You saw also, I think, with the line itself, the line was stupidly high in the first half. The line was about here, and we don't need to operate that high line with Atletico Madrid. We don't need to, because they have the ability to pass the ball. You saw De Paul and Barrios making very good link-up play between them and launching Alvarez on several occasions. Griezmann was non-existent through the game. We actually managed to neutralize him well. But Alvarez was the main worry because of his pace, his strength, his physicality, and with the link-up play, and obviously Lino also on the left, who caused major havoc for Lucas Vázquez in that area, is because the line was so pushed up so high that, second half we just said, okay, cool, we'll just drop it a little bit deeper, allow them to come onto us a bit more, but then when we have possession, maintain it well and use the overlapping runs from the left back and right back, from Lucas Vázquez, Fran Garcia, to create opportunities. And then obviously you saw Rodrigo and Mbappé playing well, Bellingham playing well, and Vini essentially playing well. Now, let me get onto Vini, because Vini was, in the second half, obviously in the first half, like I said, he was operating around here. So much more space. This guy needs space to run. This guy needs space to literally beat his man, because he uses his pace very well, and he uses just a little trickery here and there to just go through the defensive line. And with Vini here, using the width to his advantage, he did that. Same as Rodrigo. You saw in the second half, they were wide. Very, very wide. Pinned literally on the throwing line. And this is why Atletico Madrid were a bit disturbed. They put two banks of four. They decided to operate for, like a 6-2-2 formation or something, some craziness or whatever it was, yeah? And for me personally, when I looked at it and they were just playing that defensive, it allowed Real Madrid to come into the game. And then obviously Fran Garcia could make inverted runs here, overlapping runs around Vini, and then just use the width to our advantage, because Real Madrid have very good wingers. We know that. We have obviously Rodrigo, we have Vini. We have the best wingers in the world. If they use the width to their advantage, a lot of teams are going to have difficulty against us. And I'm just thinking ahead to this on Manchester City. When we have counter-attacking opportunities, we need to use Vini and Rodrigo's pace to our advantage. Rodrigo doesn't have pace in terms of speed, in terms of sprint speed, but he does have very quick acceleration off the mark. So him and Vini need to do exactly the same thing. And Mbappé and Bellingham in the second half, they worked so much better than the first half. When you saw in the first half, Bellingham was trying to drop deep here, move over here, move in the center, try and play with Lucas Vázquez, sometimes dropping too deep. I don't want to see Bellingham in that area. Sorry, I don't. I want to see him here, and just play as an attacking midfielder with a tendency to overlap Mbappe and create literally a 4-2-4. That's what we want to see. Because when Bellingham last year was playing with Vini and Rodrigo, he was the main focal point in the middle, and he scored a plethora amount of goals, So with this, he just needs to do the same thing and play with Mbappe, because their link-up play is excellent. Their link-up play, Mbappe and Bellingham, is excellent. They have very good chemistry. They know what each other's doing. So Bellingham needs to operate that area, and he was just excellent, man. Obviously, second half, yes. When we were losing the ball, though, he was tracking back, trying to make the ground and making a defensive block, obviously, in the midfield with Dani Ceballos, Bellingham also here as well, you see? And just allowing the front three to stay. Because Rodrigo is more defensive, he likes to track back and try and defend as well. Vini, when you see that, when you see, obviously, Real Madrid defending, it's more like this, essentially. Like a 4-4-2, yeah, because Bellingham can operate the middle. He can obviously operate the left. He can track his man down. You saw him making a lot of slide tackles with effect as well yesterday. So that's why Bellingham, obviously the 4-4-2 is great here, because then we can have Vini and Mbappe maybe up top just to initiate a counter-attack if we ever needed one. Because Vini very rarely defends. He very rarely defends. If he does, then he just gives up around here and doesn't obviously push back a lot. So this is where I want to see, obviously, Real Madrid's team, especially against Man City as well, yeah? I want to see us have this back line here, yeah? Obviously, I would love to see Valverde here and then Modric take up the midfield. But I understand Ancelotti's positioning, yeah? When you have Valverde and you have Ceballos in the midfield, they're going to make runs consistently to track their man down, and they never give up. I'm telling you right now. Ceballos in the second half was absolutely outstanding. The way he was controlling the ball, shielding it from, for example, the opposition, from, I think it was De Paul on several occasions, Barrios as well in the second half, literally shielding and then breaking away from him and then just delivering a pass, a simple pass just next to him. I saw Vini in the first half, and this is a perfect example. Vini was here, yeah. Let's just put the original positioning here, yeah. Vini was here. Yeah. And he couldn't literally deliver. He was here and literally couldn't deliver a pass next to him. 5 yards. Several occasions. Really poor. But when he has the width, he has time to do that. But Ceballos and Valverde, in tight situations, when the opposition's pressing them, they can actually work it out really well. And between them, they have an opportunity to do so. So, for me, I would like to see this team, essentially the same team lineup for Manchester City, because it was called problems. But we need to play like we played in the second half. We can't play how we played in the first half, because literally it's just going to give Man City a lot of the ball. We need to play with high intensity. We need to initiate press. When we were pressing, this is essentially what happened, yeah? When we were pressing, more on Rodrigo's side, to be honest, yeah? Let's say, for example, Lino was here. Yeah, you saw Rodrigo, Valverde, and Lucas Vázquez, Tchouaméni here, Ceballos here, closing in to create literally the three-man immediate press, and then two obviously men around it, just in case the ball did manage to escape. Obviously this whole three-man pressing system. This is what we need to do. We need to create tight pressing, so it gives us more opportunity to regain possession quickly, rather than loose balls where it could land up, for example, to the Paul, and then the Paul could release Alvarez. We saw it towards the latter stage of the second half when that actually happened. But obviously when the players got tired. But this pressing game cannot happen throughout the whole game. Obviously, eventually the players will get tired and they will start losing it a little bit. But I'm telling you, initially off the blocks in Manchester, we need to do this. We can't just sit back. We can't just allow them to have the ball. We can't initiate a high press and trying to hopefully get the ball. We need to create control and rhythmic play that will break Manchester City down. So, like we did in the second half against Atletico Madrid, and we've seen Atletico Madrid beat Leverkusen. We've seen them beat Barcelona because they did exactly the same thing that they did against us. They soak in all the pressure and then they counterattack you really well. So I need to see something different against Manchester City, yeah? I'm going to see the team be very organized, have the same two in the middle, Valverde, Ceballos. And I think the reason he played this team is because this is exactly the same team we're going to see against Manchester City. The second half, that's how we need to play, yeah? So I would like to see Mbappé, though, not dropping too deep. We saw him in the first half, dropping around this area, trying to receive the ball and trying to link up play. That's Bellingham's jobs, mate. That's Bellingham's job, yeah? We don't need to see you dropping deep. You just need to be on the receiving end from passes from Rodrigo or from Vini. That's all you need to do, and Bellingham himself, yeah? Sometimes Valverde, you saw Valverde in the second half making very good breakthrough runs through the midfield, and then he delivered that pass to Mbappe, which Mbappe obviously got saved by Oblak. Oblak, by the way, had an amazing game as well. So we need to see this consistently. We need to see this consistently against Man City and cause havoc towards them, because their defense is not good. We need to. Atletico Madrid's defense is way better than Manchester City's. I tell you that, even with a guy like Longley in there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, obviously Jimenez is Jimenez, but he's always going to be an absolute brick in the defense for them. But look, this is what's happening. Yeah, we need to see Man City get broken down. We need to apply the same thing that we saw against Atletico Madrid, but the second half only. I don't want to see nothing in the first half. I want to see the second half only. Yeah, and if we do have Fran Garcia overlapping and we do have Lucas Vazquez overlapping and Rodrigo and Vinny allowing them to come into this area here, play 1-2s off each other, create more overloads, then Man City are going to be absolutely cooked. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to know what hit them. It's quite literally. So that's pretty much the tactical breakdown, guys. Obviously, I wanted to show you positionally wise. I don't want to show you with arrows and stuff. I want to show you positionally wise how the team operated. Yeah. And Tchouaméni had a great game in the second half, especially. Asensio had a great game the whole game. Yeah, I kind of failed to mention Asensio too much, but he had a great 90 minutes overall. Probably one of our best players. I said Bellingham was man of the match because the way that he operated goes to 90 minutes. Yes, first half he wasn't that great, but second half he was making everything happen. Honestly, absolutely making everything happen with Rodrigo. Valverde was excellent. Ceballos was outstanding. So second half, I could not fault one player, not even Vazquez. Vazquez was outstanding second half. So let's hope that this happens against Man City as well, and let's just go in against Manchester City in Manchester and absolutely fist them up. That's all I need to say, guys. Yeah. So that's much. That's obviously the tactical breakdown, guys, of the team. Much appreciated, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Make sure you comment below and let me know if you want to see more videos like this. Obviously, post-match analysis and tactical breakdown, and we'll see you next time on another video. Obviously, last thing I'm going to say, as always, is a la Madrid y nada más. Take care, guys, and we'll see you next time.